fast. We got into a little chit chat backstage, and we were, so this is really funny. Don't give any crap, you.
Shots fired.
I know, right? Exactly. So Lady was here first today. Hello, Lady. We are super, super glad to see you guys. Alice is here today. I'm sorry we were late. We really did get sucked into a really good conversation. So Alice is here today. We are super, super happy to see you here. The horror geek is with us today. Thanks for giving me crap, sweetie. Daisy's here today. Hello. We are super glad to see you guys. Before we get rolling, let's go ahead and quickly do our intros. Robert, I am going to start with you. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right. Well, my awesome channel is The Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and put it under a Sherlockian microscope to break down the craft for the viewer. And while my channel is basically on hiatus, I do have a video coming out tomorrow. It's just not going to be on YouTube. I filmed a video short, and I got some footage during my morning walks of the fall scenery. And when I started to upload it, I realized my camera, the video footage looked crappy. And somehow, through one of the updates, or for some reason, it went down to 720p. And on YouTube, it's complete and utter trash. So it's going to be on Instagram and Facebook. It's kind of an ode to October and my video Halloween card to everybody.
I love it. Well, that's a good way. Nice job to make, pumpkin pie out of smashed pumpkins. So very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Welcome, Robert. And of course, welcome, Michelle. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right. My name is Michelle Schusterman. I'm a young adult and middle grade author. My on hiatus channel is writing workshops, traditional publishing chat, and writing blogs.
There you go. Well, very glad to I'm sorry. The Horror Geek has audio advice for Robert, and it's distracted me for a second. I'll forward the tweet to you.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'll just tell you what he said. Hold on. He said something happened. He said something happened to Robert's mic. Just know he is really all about the audio on his channel. He said something happened to Robert's mic too. I think it was boomy last week and it's a little boomy this week.
That's because I did another stream, and on the other stream, which is on Twitch, they can't hear me and I have to turn everything way up and I forget to turn it down. Is that better?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I feel like it's okay. Horror Geek says I suck at audio. But I go nuts trying to fix mine all the time. He is like music guy. So, of course, not an expert, right, honey? No, okay. This is so Mike is this super, super music guy, knows all these hip hop bands from way back and really knows music. And I really don't, but I wrote a work for hire book, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago about pop music. It was a middle grade book you would use for your book report. And so I torture him all the time by telling him I am a pop music expert because I have written a pop music. And I'm the worst at this audio stuff. So anyway, Alice, thank you so much. I got your How to Write a Self-Help book. I took a bunch of notes, loved it. Yay! That is awesome. I am super, super glad to hear it. Well, welcome today. If you have any questions after our first 5-minute warm-up sprint, we are going to we're going to answer some questions. So if you have any, we're happy to do it. All right, let's go ahead and get rolling with our very first warm-up sprint. Oh, shoot, I forgot to tell you guys who I am. Hi, I'm Lisa Daly. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So here we go. Yeah, okay, fantastic. Hold on. Let's go ahead and do our 5-minute warm-up sprint. Let's get this rolling. All right, everybody. So in these 5 minutes, you are going to stretch out your little fingers, get your protein shake or your caffeine, whatever you're working on today, and get yourself all ready for our writing sprints that are going to be coming up in just a few minutes. All right, everybody, I'm putting 5 minutes on the clock. Here we go. Starting in 3, All right, we are back. Let me just get. Oh, there we go. So, how did everybody do on our very first sprint of the morning? Yay! Actually, just a warm-up sprint.
Very good.
Fantastic. Avi's here. Hello,
Hey.
Avi. We are super, super glad to see you today. Lainey's got Scrivener issues. Scrivener on the fritz. I'm going to ignore my missing word count tracker and just roll with it. That works. Liara, I love the same Liara of Warwin's Dale. The Wolf and the Bard, chapter 15 of the 19 chapter story. I wrote 1,300 words so far today. Yay! That's awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, I wanted to tell you guys before we forgot, which of course I'm surprised, or not surprised. I'm sorry that I'm just springing it on you, both live in the on the stream, but I'm not going to be in town tomorrow, or not tomorrow. I'm not going to be in town next week, so no stream. I will actually be traveling on Wednesday, so could not be avoided. Otherwise, I think like one of the reasons that I'm traveling on this specific day was that I was very worried that I would just be glued to the television watching election returns, and I thought that having to travel would actually like have me doing something productive when I can't.
Yeah.
So there we go. All right. Exactly. So let us know, you guys, if you haven't already, what you're going to be working on in the chat today. Michelle, what are you working on?
I'm working on my Dolphin Hurricane middle grade.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't think I know this story. Like, so a Dolphin Hurricane, like, is this like Sharknado for kids?
Nothing nearly that fun. It's about a girl who is in Galveston and she is rescued by a dolphin when she falls off her dad's boat, but the dolphin ends up way inland in a bayou, which actually happens a lot. Like they get lost in all the canals and stuff, and she's trying to rescue it, but a hurricane hits the island. So then they have to like find the dolphin after the aftermath of the hurricane and rescue it. I was very surprised at how often this happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Sarasota we have Moat Marine Aquarium, and they do dolphin rescues all the time. In fact, I used to know the guy who's in charge of the dolphin program there. I don't know if he's still there. Yeah, not sure if he's still there. I have always loved dolphins, but I'm not going to say this actually because I don't want to ruin the book for you. Anyway, yes, not sure if he's still.
Story.
No. Anyway, Moat Marine Aquarium, if you happen to be in Sarasota, it's awesome. They rehab dolphins and manatees there. It's pretty cool. So Abby is totally on board with Sharknado for kids.
My friend who is very, very good at puns suggested, based on Sharknado, that we call this book Dolphoon, like Dolphin Typhoon. But unfortunately, that just implies a lot more humor than is actually going to be in the book.
I love it. I'm on board with Dolphoon. I am totally on board with Dolphoon. Oh, is that serious? Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. I love that. Absolutely. My kids were born on the opposite coast, but Sarasota is like, that's my heart right there. So yay. Both my kids went to Pineview. Anyway, so sorry, that's like a Sarasota insidery thing. Okay, so what is everybody going to be working on today? Let us know in the chat what you are planning on working on if you have not already. Michelle, what are you working on today?
Oh, the dolphin thing.
Oh, God. Hi, I'm Lisa. You guys remember that movie from like, I don't know, I think it might have been like from the 80s. It was like, I think it had Dana Carvey in it. It was called Blank Slate, and he would go to sleep and forget everything.
Yes.
I remember watching that with my kids. I mean, it was very dated by the time, but like he had like Post-it notes all over. I feel like that's just what happened to me. I just had like a 7-second memory lapse going on. Robert, I don't think I already asked you what you're working on today. What are you working on today?
I'm going to be starting some new client work today, so just getting situated with that.
All right, fantastic. I am actually working on a new self-help book this day, this lovely morning, that I've been thinking about for a while, but it's coming up soon, so I'm excited about that. Avi is brainstorming a book idea about a teen super fan who suspects her fave K-pop band are vampires. I love this. Oh my gosh, I love that. Let me say there's a show, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called The Dream Academy or something to do with Dream Academy. Anyway, I think I watched it on Netflix. It's only like 8 episodes, but it's basically like the making of a K-pop. Yeah, it was I did not care for how things went down in the end, I will say, but if you are a K-pop stan, you will definitely like this series. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of it. I'm having that kind of day today. Lainey is like, tofu. She's working on a sports romance with an injured hero. Ooh, I love that. Horror Geek is I should be working on Six Flags Volume 2, but I'm going to go squat instead. The power lifter, that's nothing gross. Okay. All right, fantastic. So let's go ahead and do our first sprint. Do I miss anybody else? Dun, dun, dun. Nope, I think I got it. All right. If you haven't told us what you're working on today, let us know. Otherwise, we are going to hit that magical button and start with our 20-minute sprint.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. All right, we got 20 minutes up on the screen. I almost said on the calendar. I don't know what is going on with my brain today. All right, we've got 20 minutes on the calendar. Here we go, everybody. We're starting in 3. All right, we are back. How did everybody do on that first sprint of the day?
Not bad.
All
set up
right.
at least.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Very good. How about you, Michelle? How'd you do on that one?
I finished a chapter.
Yay. All
Yay.
right. Yay. Fantastic. I started, as I always start with, whenever I write a book, I don't know if you guys do this. So before I start writing a book, like once I have the idea, I write the back cover copy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I do that is like, because if you can explain it, the whole idea, or at least the hook, in 250 words, 350 words, that for me it really helps clarify things. And so I had already written the back cover copy for this, but I revisited it and I was sort of looking at whether or not there's anything I want to change. Is there anything I want to do differently? And I made a couple of tweaks, but that's where I usually start.
Nice.
How about you, Robert? How'd you do?
I didn't do bad. I did some calculations on word count, where all the particular plot points should go, and made the divisions so I can figure out things as I go along. Got all that good technical stuff going.
That's great. Love that. Liara got 350 words. Woohoo! Very, very nice. Mary's here. Sorry to join late. Brain farts. Couldn't find coffee, glasses, or husband. Located 2 out of 3, so making progress. I hope
Nice.
one of those 2 was coffee. Very, very nice. Alice is going to be writing this evening. The sprints will be cleaning my gym, and breaks I'll be walking on the treadmill. I love that. I actually had. Well, I was going to turn my camera, but it'd be too. I don't know if I can do it. Can you guys see? Wait. Oh, there's a big mess.
Ooh.
So that's my treadmill. That, like, you can
Oh.
tell because it's like covered in books right now. But that is my little treadmill desk right by the side of my my regular desk, so that I can walk on the treadmill and write and look out the window. You can
Nice.
tell by all the books that I have stacked on here that I have been reorganizing my office. So I was thinking about swapping everything, just like to get some sort of fresh energy, like putting my big chair, which when I'm sitting in it, I can see the magnolia tree, but I can't see the water. And I was thinking that maybe if I switched them, I might be able to see the water, or not. It's a pretty low chair. Okay. Ooh, very good. All right. How do you go about your places? Just list them, have descriptions or photos, or do as you go? I do not quite understand the question. Does somebody else? But as we all know, I'm having a bad brain day today. Do you know what we mean? Renee, would you like clarify a little bit what you're specifically asking about? Are you talking about like narration in a novel, or creating worlds? Just give us a little more. Are you talking about like when you're initially starting to think about the book and you're kind of thinking about what the world is going to look like? If you could just clarify for that, we would love to do that. Alice says, put the chair on a platform. That is an excellent idea, Alice. That's a really good idea. I'll have to give my little ottoman like little feet too, because it's just the right height for me to like relax. Okay, I love that idea though. That could really work. That could definitely work. And fun fact about me, I have my own power saw. So there you go. All right. Lainey sets all her books in Pittsburgh because fictional places are too hard for me to make up. I definitely do the same with Sarasota. All my books are set. Well, I shouldn't say all my books anymore. All my books previously were set in Sarasota. And the Horror Geek talked me out of setting my hockey romance series in Sarasota because he said Sarasota was not big enough to support a hockey team. So I set my hockey team in St. Pete, which is like south of Tampa, but a bigger city. So, okay. Like location profiles, starting to think about your town.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
I start doing a fictional town, I mean, there's certain criteria about how my fictional world might get by in terms of money, food, how they survive. And then, once you get the key factors in place, a lot of it you're going to encounter when you write the story, because you can't figure it all out at once. You get the chief points down, and then you work on it from there in your first draft.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm working on characters, I will often Frankenstein people that I know together to sort of, that have different qualities or different like a different way about them. And it seems like if you're creating a fictional world, that might be something that you could do, sort of mixing different, sort of different thoughts about experiences you've had in different places, even if they aren't necessarily what you're, creating in your mind. Avi, he says, well balanced. She has a power saw in one hand and a margarita in the other. That's true. Well, you know me better than anybody, I think, because we're the same. So we're both beachy island girls. So I love that. Absolutely, absolutely true. Renee, what kind of book are you working on? I'm super, super curious about that. I know that we have a lot of fantasy writers who come on the stream. And so, and I know creating fantasy worlds is always so much more complex than what I get to do with contemporary romance, which is just use my real town where I can resurrect a bunch of restaurants that I miss. And, it's like every era of Sarasota that I love. So. All right. So I asked a question on the last sprint, and here's what it was. What is the most challenging part of being an author for you? So, Michelle, okay, first of all, you look like perhaps
I know.
you've
I'm
come
sorry.
from heaven to give us writing advice.
I can't get rid of the light that's on behind me. Sorry.
It's okay. It just makes you look with the curls. It's like a halo, right? You're just looking angelic right now. Okay, that's perfect. That's like some great lighting. Okay, so what's the most challenging thing of being an author for you?
Right now, the despair. Honestly, it's hard to with you see what's going on in the publishing industry, whether you want to be self-published or traditionally published.
Right.
It's getting increasingly hard to break through, and there's so much expectation on all of us now to be market experts first and writers second, that for those of us who just want to write it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me to stay motivated, honestly. Like, there's a lot of stuff I want to work on, but it's hard for my brain to get past. Well, after you work on it, you have to figure out how you're going to find an audience for it, and the way the environment is now, I just don't know how to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, that was a downer.
No, this is why we're having this conversation. No, it is like there is a lot of news coming out of trad publishing in particular, but publishing overall, like we've had a bumpy start to this year. So, I mean, yeah, I totally get that. I think most people totally get that. How about you, Robert? What do you think?
There's a lot of bumps in the road, that's for sure. And publishing and big business are constantly trying to up their own game. And I don't think they realize how that affects the people on the ground. And then, of course, we have AI, which takes away the people on the ground. But I have a segue into this conversation. I read that Penguin Random House is actually changing their copyright notices. So they're going to have this statement where they're supposedly going to protect their authors from being scraped by any generative AI or anything that might take the information for their own personal use.
Well, it's too late.
I don't know how it's all going to work out in the long run, but yeah, it's coming a little late.
Well, I only say that because one, Penguin was my publisher when I was still trad published. As you guys know, I have very much moved into indie publishing because I like to make more money. But the second part of that is like when the whole thing with where I think it was ChatGPT or OpenAI that owns ChatGPT had scraped all these books, and Penguin was like the worst offender. So that's really fascinating to me that they're going this way. Maybe it's because all their authors got really unhappy about that, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And they're talking about, all the lawsuits and all this stuff. So I'm wondering how many lawsuits got filed against them for allowing it to happen.
Well, there were some pretty big authors in the mix who were not happy about their stuff being used for AI scraping. Right? Yeah, for sure. Liara says, I feel that so much, Michelle. I just want to write. Didn't we have publishers to take care of that stuff for us?
We used to.
We used to back in the day, although I've been in publishing for a while, and like as far like they in the beginning, they didn't really do anything, but they also didn't really expect authors to do anything.
Right.
And so if you were good at like marketing or promotion, that was like very exciting for them, right? But now the expectation is that you have a massive social media following, that you've basically already done all the hard work to sell the books. So they're just going to take care of the printing for you and all that. And like I said, I getting published was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I had a very good relationship with Trad Publishing for a long time. And I guess, I don't know, like I wouldn't, if there was some book that I really felt like could only, if I decided to write some book that was like deep and thinky, and I really wanted it to be considered for certain awards, then obviously I would go through traditional publishing. But I don't, but I don't like, it's harder and harder for me to make the argument for trad publishing. Now that said,
Right.
some people just are like, I don't care. I just want to be traditionally published. And I so love that and appreciate it. Like, if that's your dream, then you go for it. And I will do everything I can to help you get there.
And there's still, even as much as I like rage against them sometimes, there's still so much they do for us. Like, I went to a Barnes and Noble yesterday and found my book that came out over a year ago, and it's still on the shelf there.
That's great.
And like when people are like, well, just self-publish if you're going to have to do all the marketing yourself anyway, it's like, well, no, I could not have self-published that novel, especially a middle grade novel. It wouldn't be on the shelves in Barnes and Noble. Like, they're still doing something for you, even it just people make it sound like it's a very simple choice to just go self-published, but it really depends on what your goals are and what you want to do.
And what you're good at. Some people are not good at project management and all that other stuff. Marketing wise, it's mostly going to be on you unless you are unless you've gotten an insane book deal. Unless you've gotten a truckload of money, the marketing is primarily going to be on you. And that's true whether you're traditionally published or indie published. It's that part of it's going to fall on you. And there are a lot of other people that are like, I just do not want to be the project. Like, it's worth it to give away this portion of my royalties because I don't want to be responsible for all this other stuff that I don't, have any experience with. So I totally get that. All right. So Renee says, when we were talking about earlier about her setting, it's an adult contemporary romance drama with a friend group. So I would just put it wherever, you feel comfortable writing about, or something that sort of supports the story. There's a movie that I love that's absolutely terrible, but I love it dearly. I love it dearly enough that, like, back in the 80s, I never returned my Blockbuster copy of this movie, and I still have it. It had Shelley Long and Steve Guttenberg in it. It was called originally Don't Tell Her It's Me, but then the name got changed to The Boyfriend School, where basically she has this so Shelley Long is like a writer, like a famous author, and there's a reporter doing a story on her who thinks romance is trash. And she's trying to write kind of a takedown. But in the meantime, Shelley Long has this brother, Steve Guttenberg, which genetics people. But anyway, so Steve Guttenberg is her younger brother. He's like just gotten through this terrible cancer treatment. And he falls for the reporter. And so she like remakes him into a romance star, like basically tells him to adopt an accent and ride a motorcycle, changes his hair, gives him a makeover. And it's awful and adorable at the same time, but still to this day remains one of my favorite movies. I don't know why. I cannot explain it.
That's
all
fun.
right. So the reason I started telling you guys this long story is because that book is set in like Charleston, South Carolina. And so there's this very sort of kind of sweet Southern, Shelley Long's character lives in this big house. She's got this sort of dorky Southern husband. The when the reporter and Steve Guttenberg spend some time together, they go do the shag. So it's like it's the city becomes part of the story. And I think New York has been the part of a lot of stories where it wouldn't quite feel right if it was set anywhere else. And so one of the things to think about when you're thinking about a setting for a contemporary romance or a sort of friend group kind of story is that sometimes the city can also be a character as well. And so that's something I think to consider. For sure, Sarasota and Siesta Key are like very much part of the vibe with my books. But I think that's true for a lot of, I think about, oh my gosh. I can't think of the author's name. The character was Kay Scarpetta. She was the medical examiner in Richmond, Virginia. The author is it's going to make me crazy. One of you will figure it out. But Richmond was very much a part of those stories as well. I'm going to look this up while we do our next sprint. All right, we're going to come back. I know everyone's going to like somebody's figured it out. All right, we're going to come back and talk more about everybody's questions right after this. But I've got to figure out who was that novelist. It's so obvious. It's right on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot remember it. Oh, well. All right, here we go. Robert, when we come back, we're going to talk more about hardest part of publishing for you. I'm dying to hear what you have to say. All right, here we go, everybody. Let's do our second 20-minute writing sprint. We're starting in 3. All right, we are back. How did everybody do on that last chat?
Pretty
Last
good.
chat, last sprint. I really am a dork today. All right, let's get rid of this. So the question that we were talking about before was what is the hardest part of being an author? What's the most challenging part of being an author for you? Let us know in the chat how you did, and also let us know what the most challenging part of being an author is for you. Robert, it's your turn. What's the most challenging part?
This is going to be long-winded, but it's the companies, the big companies, basically, and what they do to make our projects a product, and how they go about what sells, what doesn't sell. I made a lot of friends and I asked a lot of questions. And part of my entire burnout factor was just knowing too much, I think. I mean, I don't know if there's a difference these days between traditional publishing and self-publishing, other than one gives you the esteem of being published by one of the bigger companies if you get picked up by one. And if that's your dream to be in the bookstores, you know, there are certain benefits and certain things to that can be nice. It's the dream that I think we all start with. And then, you know, unless you're on the A list, you're basically having to do it all yourself anyway. And if by chance your book does take off from a traditional publisher, there's benefits in there, but you're also going to get a percentage of what you would get from self-publishing if you did the same work and it took off and sold.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a gap in there.
Yeah.
What I don't like, and probably the thing that really kind of ticked me off when I found out, is that there's so many things that are that A list that gets the packaging and the promotion, and then there's everybody else, and within everybody else becomes the bean counter list of the loss column, because it's all about profit and loss. And when you're in the loss column, they will underprint you so that you don't stand a chance of actually breaking out, or at least it's next to impossible to break out and make those sales. If you end up in their loss column, you're only benefiting them. You're never going to get another print run. You're never going to make it into enough bookstores to get noticed, and you're doomed before you're out of the gate. That is the hardest part for me.
That is a challenge. I will say, if you keep selling those books, especially online, like, it sucks if you're not in bookstores. It sucks. I have an author that I have several authors that I've worked with who are traditionally published with like mid-sized publishers, and one of them, Matt Coyle, has won a ton of, like, he has won like every mystery award you can possibly imagine. He sells really well. He has a beloved series, but because of his publisher's distributor, he can't get into like Barnes. He's not stocked in Barnes and Noble, even when he's like on the San Diego, Union Tribune bestseller list, or whatever. Like, even though he's selling well, even though he's very well known in San Diego where he lives, he struggles to get carried in Barnes and Noble, which is really unfortunate. Now, the one place where he's done extremely well is he is covered in he's carried in a bunch of indie mystery stores, and that can, indie stores are really great with hand selling books that they love. And so if you can create a relationship, whether you're indie published or traditionally published, with those independent bookstores, that can really do a lot for your career. A lot. For me, the answer is, like, the most challenging part is like doing all the things also, because I think a lot of us, what we'd really love to do is just stare out the window and write. And I don't know, because I came up through the trad publishing system, I always feel like I have to do all these interviews and I have to promote all the time. But I will say, I work with a number of 7-figure authors who just write books, do their mailing list, and that's it. And they just spend all their time cranking out the next book and let that backlist do all the work for them. And I think there's a certain kind of genius to that. I think it takes a lot of bravery to go, okay, I'm not going to like spend all this time on social media or do this or this. I'm going to just write more books. But also I think like it's got to be a happier life. And don't get me wrong, they're doing some things. Most of those folks are also doing Facebook ads. But yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. I want to see if I can take a picture of this and share it. There's a big lizard that just crawled down my window.
Ooh, let's see it.
All right. Oh, I just think like I don't know if I can share it. Hold on. I'm gonna see. I'll work it out on the next sprint. I'll share it with my laptop.
I
So
think there's a lot of truth in what you're saying there. Back in the beginnings of self-publishing, when some of the people were making it big, and I kind of followed Russell Blake, he did some right things and he did some things that were detrimental. He was one of the guys that developed the whole 4 to 6 novels per year plan because he was a Wall Street guy, and he decided, well, this is going to be like a product, and here's the business model I'm going to use.
right.
The other thing that he did is he always said your best promotion is just working on the next one.
Yeah.
And just like you're saying, and he had a lot of success doing that through self-publishing as well.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting is Janet Ivanovich said the same thing. And I always thought like, well, yeah, sure. But you came up when that's all you needed to do. And she started with Harlequin. So she got to the point where she could, I think, write a new book in like 17 minutes or something. But she had said that for years and years and years. For those of you who are still wondering, the author I could not remember earlier, Patricia Cornwall, it just popped in my head. Sorry, I had to say that.
There you
So
go.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this. So John says, I believe my debut didn't get picked up because of a misogynistic redemption arc. That could be true. There are a lot of women in publishing. So if you have a misogynistic arc, that it may not resonate with editors and readers. Most challenging thing about being an author is getting the story out so that what's on the page matches what's in my brain, plus patience. Writing a story is hard and it takes time to get it right. That is true. That is very true.
That's true in every art form. When I was doing graphic arts, it took a while before I could get what was on the page, even in a drawing, to match what was in my head. It happens to everybody. It's just part of the learning curve. But as I always say, the more you know, and the more practice, the better you get at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Daisy makes a good point, which is something that Michelle has said for years on the stream, which is that if you write middle grade or if you write kids books, it's really, really hard to get anywhere self-publishing. Of course, there are exceptions, but yeah, because one of the big advantages you have, and I will say, if I were going to write middle grade books or kids books, I would go the trad publishing route. And the reason for that is what you have said, Michelle, over and over and over again, is that the publishers have those relationships with the schools and the book fairs and all of that. And it's way more challenging to get that stuff, to get those types of opportunities to sell to kids if you don't have that connection. I'm sure there are people out there doing it. In fact, I remember speaking at a school book fair speaking at a school like Career Day one year, and there was an author there who had like a big table of kids books that he had self-published. So I'm like, whoo, more power to you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Because the whole middle grade and YA fantasy is probably the biggest part of the ocean in self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to get lost there. Is that like a large part of it, or some part of it at least, I would imagine?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Liara got 350 words on our last sprint, so that is fantastic. The reader asks a good question. What can we do to increase the number of readers? Are we talking about, this is a great question. So are we talking about the number of readers for our books, which is obviously marketing promotion? Are we talking about the number of readers like in the country or worldwide? Because one of the things I think is really interesting is that, and sad, is that the number of readers has gone down. I do wonder, though, if those TikTok girls are going to save us all, because there's such an active book community on TikTok. And I don't know if it's that they've found each other there in a way that, like, that is great and they're sort of able to amplify the things that they love, or if it's if they're like helping to make reading like cool again. I don't know. I mean, for me, it'll always be cool, but I'm a dork.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Mhm.
I wonder.
I think that I love that community exists and the enthusiasm
Oh,
and
yeah.
translating sales. It is, again, another one of those things where it's only helpful to you if you write in specific genres. It, like, it seems to be specifically romantasy that does the best on TikTok, and then
Yeah.
like romance, which is great. But like if you write, if you're not writing YA, you're not writing crossover, you're not writing something with a strong romantic arc, then I don't know how helpful book talk is going to be for
So I
you.
actually saw a presentation about this at NINC, and one of the things they were talking about was how TikTok has this reputation, but that now other genres and subgenres are
Oh, that-
really
that'd be
finding a home there. So
good.
if you don't write romance, well, if you write romance and fantasy, you should probably be on TikTok. But if you don't write it and you write in some other genre, let's say mystery,
Mhm.
I'd get in now, like while the audience is developing, so that you can be one of those early folks. So,
But what if I hate TikTok?
well,
I
you
just
know,
don't like it.
yeah, Becca Syme is one of my favorite thinky authors, and she is very data driven. And one of the things that she says is that you should not do social media that you hate. Basically, do a hub system, have an account that, go, okay, I'm on Instagram or I'm on YouTube, and that everything else just say, hey, I'm primarily active on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because one, it takes up a lot of time to be on a social media site that you don't like. And also it takes a lot of like energy, right? It takes a lot of juice that you could be using for writing.
I blame social media for a lot of things that are getting in the way of reading, because it takes up so much of the average person's time that reading is probably lessened. On top of that, we're given everything in 3 sentences or less, these little sound bites.
Yeah.
And I was on a Facebook writers group, and it was supposed to be a group to help other writers, but you couldn't give an answer more than 3 sentences or it wouldn't get read. And people would complain and apologize for longer answers all the time. And I put up a post that I said, this is kind of ironic that writers don't want to read, even if it's supposed to be good for
Right.
answering your questions. And
Right.
that post was my most popular post because everybody jumped in with sarcastic answers, sticking up for the reasons why they don't have time to read more than 3 sentences. And it became such an overwhelming barrage of sarcasm. I said, okay, thank you. Click and quit the group.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I know. I get all of us are like have so much information coming at us all the time. But yeah, I can relate to that. I can completely relate to that. Renee says for her, balancing in general, all the ideas plus writing dreams plus keeping up with the house and the kiddos, it is challenging when you have kids at home. It's challenging when you have a day job. It's challenging when you have a day job and kids at home. But I feel like those years in particular are the most challenging for a lot of folks, because there are so many things pulling at you constantly all the time. Stacy says, discipline. I seriously lack the discipline, but I'm trying to work on that. You know what? I feel you on that. There are some times of my life when I'm extraordinarily disciplined, and then other times where it just falls apart and I can't make it go. And so this is something where you can like teach yourself and build up your sort of discipline muscles, but don't beat yourself up about it, because it makes it worse. And we all go through it. You will not speak to an author alive who does not like have times, at least in their life, where they feel like, if only I'd been more disciplined about that. But it's a very good skill to work on, and it will definitely serve you well through your life. Okay, so my jaw dropped when I saw a popular authortuber comment that indie books do not compare as a product to trad books in 2024 like it's still 2008. That is not true. That authortuber is wrong. Certainly there are exceptions that prove every rule, but the indie authors that I know and work with get their books, professionally edited, and they have professional covers and definitely professional marketing. So yeah, I mean, certainly there are exceptions. In 2008, you could absolutely tell when a book was traditionally published versus a book was self-published, but I don't think that's true anymore. There are a lot of those books on the Amazon bestseller list, Barnes & Noble bestseller list, that are indie published, and you would never know the difference.
I would like to say be careful of popular author tubers, because I was constantly just grabbing my head and saying, where is this coming from?
I feel that. Stacy says, oh yeah, social media has killed my attention span. That is true. I read something a million years ago about how our brains sort of readjust how long things should take based on like the fastest things in our lives. And so, so now, like, if you can get information in a second, it skews how fast you think everything else should be.
Mhm.
So yeah,
It's training us not to be
right. It's training us to be those little cocaine monkeys that just push the button over and over again all day. Daisy says, I take my YouTube videos and cut them for a bunch of TikTok videos. Views are better on TikTok too. I'm super small on both. I think the great thing about TikTok is it doesn't matter if you're small or big, you can still go viral. With a channel that has 3 followers, you can still have a video that goes viral. And I think that's really fascinating and cool about TikTok. That said, I do almost nothing on TikTok. That is one of my goals for 2025, is to get my act together over there. And they are doing some very cool things. If you are direct selling your books, which a lot of authors are starting to do now, you can connect that to a TikTok shop, or even if you don't have like direct selling on your website, you can sell your book right there in the video on TikTok, which I think is going to just be absolutely huge for authors in particular. So
it's a complete sidebar to
Yeah.
Daisy. You have to let me know how Thrum works out. I watched your video last night because it came up when I was trying to upload my video. Correct me if I'm wrong. The whole idea is you're gonna shelve it or shove a book based on its cover, and then look up the idea of what the book is after you've judged it by its cover and read the description. Now, this book, Thrum, sounded like an interesting premise. Space, an isolated story, all of that I like. And then it gets to the threat part, and then it's just like a mysterious hum. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of underwhelming. But the cover was good. I agree. And I'm kind of curious how that all turns out, because I've never heard of Thrum.
That's interesting. Love that. Avi says, remember when TikTok was a Keisha hit song? TikTok on the clock. Yeah, I remember that. You know why? Because at the time that came out, my daughter was really little, and it was like in a kid's bop, and I had to listen to it around the clock. And so the sad thing is, I know the kid version better than the Keisha version, which makes me a little bit sad. So love that. She says, can't wait to start Thrum. Very, very nice.
You could do a review on that one.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. All right, hold on. Let's see what we've got here. Did I lose my 20-minute timer? Yes, there it is, hiding away. All right, everybody, we are going to put another 20 minutes on the clock. We're going to get in one last sprint before we go today. This one has gone fast. All right, here we go, everybody. Let's get ready to write. We're going to put 20 minutes on the clock, starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. All right, everybody, we are back. How did that last sprint go for you? Let us know in the chat. Oh, hold on, I accidentally muted Michelle. There we go. So we got some nice little messages on the way at the door. Thanks for spending your morning with us, guys. Gotta go. Bye, Alice. Thanks so much for being here today. We hope you. I was going to say we hope we see you next week, but we will be off next week. We will be back in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I'll be traveling next Wednesday. Books by Adrian is here. Hello. Super glad to see you. Thanks very much. We're very glad you like the timer. It's always my favorite to write at the beach. So I love that timer because it makes me feel like I'm writing at the beach. Ladies, super productive session today. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. You are so sweet. Yeah, look at you. Yara knocked it out every time. Very nice work. Yay. We are super, super proud of you today. Well, we are just about to the end of our time to go. Before we say goodbye, Michelle, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel and also how you did today.
Oh, well, it was very productive, actually. I got another about half a chapter written after the one I finished on the last sprint, so thank you for that. And I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult middle grade novels. My channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Vlogs.
Thank you so much for being here, as always.
Thank you.
Robert, tell us a little. How'd you do today first, and then tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
I did well, mostly going over someone's first chapter and making a lot of notes. I'm going to reread it again to make sure I didn't miss anything because that first chapter is very important.
Very important. The most important, some would say.
Yes, very much so. And my channel is The Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and put it under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft for the viewer. And don't forget, I will have a video short tomorrow on my Instagram and Facebook for those interested in the videos. It's just that due to accidental camera quality was not good enough to upload to YouTube. So it's going to be a short that'll be sufficient enough for those other forums and look better.
Totally feel that. Thank you guys all so much for being here today. I'm Lisa Daly, and on my channel we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So if you want to do that, please check out my past videos, and I'll have some new ones coming soon. I'm actually working on a whole thing, whole bunch of videos, a whole series that I'm super excited about. So, all right, everybody, we will not see you next week, but we will see you back in 2 weeks at our same time and place, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Keep those keyboards clacking.